Welcome to For the Long Run, the podcast exploring the why behind what keeps runners running long, strong, and motivated. I'm your host, Jonathan Levitt. Through personal and professional connections in the running world, I have the privilege of getting to know some amazing athletes. I've always been fascinated by the psychological aspect of running, and this podcast is aimed at exploring this and much more. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back. I have Lauren Paquette joining me from Arizona, where the time zones are always interesting, as we both learned today. So Lauren, thanks so much for taking some time to chat and for your flexibility.
Of course. I really appreciate you giving me the platform today.
For sure. So first question, who is Lauren? Just starting with the tough one.
Who am I? Well, I don't think that can be covered in an hour or so long podcast.
But we'll try.
But that's a good existential question and one that I think I'm probably still figuring out. But yeah, I am 34 years old. I am a Southerner. I have just moved the past year to a completely different part of the country, to Flagstaff, Arizona, to join NAZ Elite. And on surface level, I guess you could say I'm a professional elite distance runner. And yeah, multifaceted.
Very cool. As Corey McGee says, very fun job. So yes.
Definitely.
Most of the time. So given that this is a running podcast, after all, let's sort of set the stage with what got you into running, and then we can dig into the more existential questions later on, perhaps. So do you remember your first run?
My dad was a professional pole vaulter in the late 70s, 80s. And I think my first run was with him because, he wasn't pole vaulting at this time when I ran with him when I was like 12, but he always stayed pretty fit. And so, he just asked me to go on a run with him at a young age in our neighborhood. And I remember just thinking like, this is really, really hard. And he was just encouraging me to push myself and something I hadn't done before. So that literally was like, it maybe lasted for, I think I ran with him 2 or 3 times in like 1 week. And then fast forward to like 5 years later, age 17, because I pretty much was like, yeah, this is hard. I'm going to go be a kid. Like, no, thanks, But yeah, and then I'm not sure about my first like true run, but how I got into running was I went to a really small private high school in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we just didn't really have all the sports. And finally, my junior year, this man who had run for University of Arkansas decided to bring the sport to our school. And I really didn't have any interest in it at first. I was doing almost every other sport you can think of that we had available besides soccer. And I was really focused on volleyball. I was doing junior Olympic volleyball as libero. I was really into music. So it just wasn't really on my radar. But, you need, at least in Arkansas at the time, you need 5 people on your team to score your team in a cross-country meet. And the team only had 5 people. And one girl was sick. So they kind of, scouted around to the school and came to me and were like, I know you're really athletic. Like you used to be fast playing tag on the playground or.
I remember back in kindergarten when you peaked.
Yeah, exactly. What is it like like mini Olympics day where you have, all these different events and like egg toss or 100-meter dash. And I used to be able to beat up on the majority of the guys even. Whether they were trying or not, I don't know, but you know what? It doesn't matter.
They definitely were.
But yeah, so they asked me to fill in. And I do remember in Arkansas, we did 4K for cross country. And so pretty short, but they just brought you out to this field seemingly in the middle of nowhere and fired off a gun with blanks in it. And we're just like, okay, start your race. And so it just wasn't prepared for that. I walked in my first 4K race, so about 2.5 miles. And yeah, I think it was just like a random meet. But I did finish, I want to say I was like third or fourth or something. So like, even though I walked and, it was really hard and I was not prepared for it, like I still performed pretty well. So then, the coach just thought I might have potential in this sport. So they kind of convinced me to stay on the team. And I mean, I really stayed on the team because I really liked the people on the team rather than actually running, because it was really hard that first race. I mean, I hadn't even done a run with them. I just showed up with them and ran. Um, and so, yeah, so they convinced me to stay on the team, and I got third at state cross country that year in Arkansas, which it sounds impressive, but actually, disclaimer, Arkansas at the time is just not super deep. But yeah, that's what it was. And then I ended up competing on the track my junior year. And then through my senior year, did cross country and track. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Very cool. So if the Lauren who was walking in the 4K back then saw the Lauren of today, what do you think she would say?
You know what? I actually think that when I don't know about in that actual race, but I do remember in high school thinking like, I'm going to be really good. But I was thinking like, I want to be a professional athlete and I'd like to make an Olympic team. But that was young Lauren who really didn't have any idea of what that actually meant, like what that would entail. But yeah, I wouldn't say that first race I would have seen my path going in this direction, because it was hard and I walked and it was like, get me off this course as fast as possible. But yeah, I think just I had a really good coach who invested in me, and just, I just kept seeing improvements, like big ones from month to month. So yeah.
So fast forward a few years and you've almost finished you have finished your first year with NAZ Elite, or is it still?
Yeah,
Anyway, it's a year.
Yeah, it's been pretty much almost exactly a year, because I got here on New Year's Eve of 2019.
Talk about a big change in the new year.
Yeah, and one I thought a lot of unexpected hurdles.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. What has it been like being on a new team where things may have been normal for like a month or two, and then it's just totally wild? So you moved cities, you moved states. I have some advanced scouting that says when she moves to a new city, she ends up knowing more about the city than a local. So I hear your friend Camille Crampton.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Camille.
That's so funny. Hi, Camille.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I mean, the whole process to join a team, especially at the age I am or was when I joined a team, it was definitely exciting. There are lots of unknown variables, even just to begin with, despite everything that's happened in 2020. But I mean, yeah, when I got here, I was banged up. I had some post-tib tendonitis going on in my left foot and ankle. And so I really wasn't like running that much to begin with, but I was going to all the practices and going to weights and everything. And it was like just a dream come true for me. Like I had been training alone for about 6 years. And I think, training by yourself and having to do everything on your own makes you a certain kind of mentally tough, but it also gets really old really quickly.
Yeah.
So I was looking to I started the process of looking for a team in July of 2019. And, and once like something worked out, which ended up being NAZ for me, which I'm so happy about. I mean, they were like one of my top choices to begin with. I was just like a kid in a candy shop, so excited just to have training partners, and not just training partners, but women that I could really look up to and I could invest in and I can really believe in and feel like I could also make a contribution to the team. So it was amazing, even though I was hurt, like the first month, first 4 to 6 weeks. And then I was working with AJ and Wes Greg at Hypo 2 to help my tendonitis. And eventually, it got better and better. And so I was able to do more runs, do more workouts with the team. And I think I might have gotten maybe like 3 weeks or maybe 3 or 4 weeks of workouts, actual workouts with the team before things kind of started to shut down. So like I do remember walking into the weight room one day at Hypo 2 and Ben Rosario, our coach, pulls us aside and he's like, ladies, like talking to me and Danny, I'm really sorry, but like your first 2 races have been canceled because of this pandemic. And it was just like, oh, okay. Like, really? So it's actually like really serious. It was like almost kind of, I mean, we knew that it was the pandemic was going on in March but I don't think it really hit home that it was like as serious as it was until almost overnight, and then I think we had one more week of meeting up together, and then the state of Arizona went on lockdown. And so we decided as a team to follow the state lockdowns and be good citizens and be good role models for the rest of the running world. But yeah, it was definitely surreal for me because I pretty much joined a team to have training partners.
And then couldn't. Yeah.
It's very, very, very ironic. And yeah, I mean, we were quarantined, I guess, or kind of just like running on our own for 2.5 months, maybe something like that. And I remember there was this one run where I had just finished this workout out on Lake Mary Road here in Flagstaff, and I was doing my cool down, and I like ran by Stephanie Bruce. It was like, I miss you. It was just like, and that was the highlight of my. I had a great workout that day, and it was the highlight of my day to be on my cool down and just be like, oh my God, like I can't wait. Like there's my training partner, and I just can't wait till we're all back together again.
No, I totally feel you on that. I back in March, I was also quarantining and living alone, and I saw a friend on the other side of a bridge, and we had a conversation across the bridge and 4 lanes of traffic, and it was like the best part of my week.
No,
like, Whitney, hello from the other side.
I know I ran into Danny on another one of these runs, and literally like in the middle of our run, we had a 45-minute conversation, like way more than 6 feet apart, just because we were like, God, it's good to see your face,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So, yeah, it was definitely an interesting start to my joining the team.
Definitely. And so how have things changed over the last couple of weeks and months? It looks like you guys have gotten into like pods or smaller training groups.
Yeah. So when we finally started meeting back together as a team, we took it very slow in an increments. So where we would have like one other person to work out with. So usually, yeah, I mean, that was typically like at that time, me or Steph, and then we'd, extend it to like me, Steph, and Kellen. And of course, the men's team did the same thing, like, but just for workouts. And then it slowly as like, we kind of analyze the situation. We're still following state and county protocols. And we were slowly able to get back to, okay, doing some easy runs together and then widening the circle a little bit. But we basically kept it to just our team for a long time. And that, you have to trust your teammates that they're doing everything you're doing and being safe. And,
right.
I know it's been different for different groups and different states, and people just have been doing what they feel like their, moral and compass, and also like what they feel like is safe and right for them at the time. So that's what we did as well. And yeah, eventually we were able to kind of just all start meeting together again. And it's been different because normally our group is pretty, we're pretty inclusive. Like we like when other people from other groups like come do easy runs with us or, and like it's, we're not super secretive, obviously. Like our whole motto is share the journey. So
Right. The workouts are everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, you can see all of our training on Strava and Final Surge. Like there's nothing secret about it. It's, and normally, yeah, like we like to have other people in Flagstaff or visiting and altitude stints come and train with us, but we just kind of had to be, a little bit more locked down than that. So it's really just, we keep it pretty insular within our team, even now. Yeah.
How has that impacted motivation?
My motivation, crazily enough, never waned throughout this entire thing. I think I was just so happy to be here and just like enjoying myself so much, even though there were just so many new things with training and all that. I mean, there were so many new variables I had to get used to, but I almost felt like in a weird way, I was just insulated from all the fear and anxiety because I felt like I was just so focused and like doing something that jived with my spirit and my value system and my beliefs. And I was just so happy. I'm still just so happy to like just be here and be on this team and have like been my teammates and all the resources we have at our disposal. And yeah, like I do remember this one day, like the week before we really shut down in quarantine, we had this kind of nasty day in Flagstaff where it was kind of blizzarding a little bit. And we had 20 by 200 that day. It wasn't like a crazy long or hard workout, but I remember not feeling very good on it. And it started to blizzard in the middle of the workout to almost where I couldn't see anything. And I just was thinking like, this is just so fitting for what's going on right now because like it was the same week that we all realized like, oh, this is serious. Like the world's in trouble right now. And it almost felt like I was in a snow globe or something. And like I was being like insulated from all just the unrest and the ugliness out there in the world right now with everything going on. And I was just, so I've been trying to just tap into that kind of mindset, just like blocking everything out and just kind of focusing on like what I can do in the moment and just controlling what I can control. And like, it was a really, really nasty day, but it was literally one of my favorite like running memories so far out here.
Yeah. I think the gratitude and, staying present can be so powerful. Do you think that, coming out of your injury played a role?
I've had my fair share of injuries over the years, and definitely every time you come out of it, you're just like, I will never complain about how hard workouts are again. Right. As long as I can, do what I love to do, or I can be pain free, or it's different for everybody. But yeah, I mean, definitely, it's all a factor. I mean, it just, I don't know, like I know 2020 it's been hard for me too in different ways, but it's actually been one of my favorite years so far. Weirdly enough, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that obviously there's a lot going on, and there's a lot that we can't control, but there is still, for many of us, plenty that we can control. And for me, running has been like one of the only things that I've had control over, and running has like brought me so much joy this year in ways that it hadn't ever before, because it's been that consistency, and it's been that like, oh, that's not going as well as I wanted, but I'm going to go for a run and like, it's going to be great. Or like, I haven't seen friends in weeks, but I can just go for a run and maybe I'll run into somebody. It sounds way worse than it is, but I think what I'm getting at there.
I mean, I 100% agree. And, I think that mindset was actually so valuable this past summer once we actually, got to race. And we'd kind of been operating our whole team under the hope that, this is happening, it's a real thing, but we can still be outside. Like, training doesn't totally have to stop, and we can still like try to get the best out of ourselves in a really crappy situation, and just put our nose to the grindstone, and just, and hopefully, if in the off chance that we were able to race, we'd be ready, and then just show up to the start line, just grateful to even have the opportunity, and I mean, that worked for me. I know that there have been a lot of athletes that they've had to kind of take a different approach and step back, and I think there's no there's no like right or wrong this year with any of it. It's kind of just where you're at and how you're processing. But for me, that was it. That was it for me.
Yeah, I think that the sort of understanding how to play with motivation and how to use whatever motivation you have in this year is more important than ever. And so you did get to race a couple of weeks ago, and an Instagram post that you made was what inspired me to reach out about this podcast, where you shared, sometimes you take big swings in this sport and miss. Bummed to not have the race I'd been working towards, but immensely proud of all three of my teammates' home runs achieving the 10K Olympic standard. Before I joined NAZ Elite, I had to have an honest talk with myself. After training alone for so many years, am I going to be okay with getting my ass kicked in practices and races at times? The answer is hell yeah. So I love this for two parts. The first being the swing and a miss, and the second is the pride and sort of like, if you're the fastest person around, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the fastest person around, you're on the wrong team. So first, I love the big swing mentality. Like, we can't hit the home runs unless we take the big swings, and usually they're not home runs. But I think that's what makes it so fun and so exciting when they do work out well.
Absolutely. I mean, like going into that 10K race, I was excited for it. Great training. I'm still kind of processing why it kind of went downhill for me. I actually just talked to Ben Rosario today, had a meeting with him to kind of go over the 10K, but the solace that I can take in, coming up short of my goal is that all three of my teammates that I train with every day, step for step, stride for stride, they all were able to make it happen on that day. And while, like, it's kind of upsetting to not have my own race go the way I wanted, like, I know that I can train with them because we've been training together, and I just, have to just trust that, my day will come too. And just so happy for those ladies, especially. I mean, I'm happy for everyone all the time, but also like Danny Shanahan, I think, just deserves a gold medal for that performance. She got tripped 5K into the race and came back and still ran the Olympic standard. And she's made so many like just leaps and bounds mentally this year, just this past fall. And I think her just, trusting in the training and just head down and YOLO pretty much, like it paid off big time for her. And, I can be upset about my own race, and I think I should be upset about it. It was, it's okay to be upset with not, running anywhere near what you're capable of. I should be upset about it, but that doesn't mean that I can't also like cheer for my teammates and be so excited for them at the same time.
Definitely. One thing you mentioned before that I wanted to jump back into was you said that you wanted to bring something to this team. Yeah. One of the things that I've enjoyed asking other athletes who have joined teams is like, what do you want to bring to the team? So my question to you is what was one thing that you wanted to bring to your teammates?
I have a little bit of a couple things. I guess like physically, I have a little bit of a different background than the majority of my team. I've been more trained like a speed athlete in the past. I ran the 800 in college, the 15 towards my senior year, but then I was basically a miler for a long time. Then I had quite a few years of injuries, or I really wasn't on the map. And then just in 2016 did I kind of switch over to, or like dabble more in like 3K, 5K. And then the 10K is still a relatively new event for me. I just have run my first 10K this year. And so, so I have that kind of just, I don't know, like just a different background to where I've done more, more speed endurance type workouts. And the way that Ben trains athletes at NAZ is it's very different than that. It's like lots of critical velocity. So like, like lots of reps, longer reps, really, really short rests versus what I'd been doing, which is like really high intensity intervals with short ones with lots of rest. And so, it's like in races, you need to have the fitness to be able to run certain times, but then sometimes it kind of comes down to being there at the end of the race and then having to kick. And so last year he did something different where we kind of melded all of our strengths together. So he
made one super athlete.
He did it, obviously you don't get away from what really works for you, but we knew that I had been pretty underdeveloped aerobically. And so it was really cool that like working out with Kellen and stuff, the majority of the year, like I could kind of rely on them a little bit to like help me with the longer aerobic endurance type stuff. And then they hadn't really done that kind of speed endurance training for a while. And so when we had those type of workouts, I could kind of help them out and push them up and help to push them. So it's kind of it was like a good marriage of like, skills and talents and just experience. But, so that was one thing. But then also like, I wanted to join a team where I could really like be excited about the people on the team too. Like I really was not about trying to join a team where you're trying to like kill each other in practice every day, or there's like a lot of drama or something. I'm too old for that. And, and so basically, I just wanted to contribute to a team in the role of support when it's necessary. I think, and an example of kind of what I'm talking about, not me, but I know when I first got here, when I was hurt, it was like January to February, and that's when the marathoners were building up for their Olympic trials. And so they're very locked in, and I just remember like I wasn't even able to run that much, and I'd go to practice in the weight room, and like literally every day I saw Alafine Tiliamic. She like took the time to like ask me how I was doing, like with my injury and like how I was adjusting to this new life, basically. And, and I just like, I noticed that stuff, and I remembered that because like, here she is about to be on the biggest stage of her life, and she takes the time to like see how I'm doing. And then she goes and wins the thing, And it's like, it's such a small gesture. Like it's nothing huge, but it's like, I wanted to be on a team where I could contribute to just people's overall success.
And she would probably say, of course I would do that. Why would I do anything else?
Alex is also like one of the nicest people.
And here's a beanie.
Yeah. So.
Very cool. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just said I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it absolutely did. Yeah, it's super cool to see the personalities that come out of the team onto social, and also in person. I've been there a couple of times, and Yeah, very, very awesome group that you guys have. So let's fast forward 10 years. What are you really proud of accomplishing?
You mean like 10 years from now or just in my career as of now?
Yes.
Okay. Um, you know, I think I've had a lot of setbacks in my career, whether that's been injury or just not being in the right environment or just really not having the best mindset and having to work on that. And I think like one thing I am proud of myself, and I think I will be in 10 years from now, because I think that's only going to get better, is just my capacity to adapt and just kind of persevere. I feel like a lot of people in my situation years ago, and I mean, I had almost 4 years straight of injuries where I wasn't really able to train like I could. And, I think a lot of people in those situations just kind of like give up on themselves or give up on the sport. And, like I understand that it's not fun and it makes you question a lot of your, life choices, but
Right.
yeah, I love running and I love the sport. And yeah, I just didn't want to go out like that and felt like I had a lot more in me to give. And so, I hope that, at the end of the day, that can just inspire one person and just help them not give up either when things are hard for something they really love. And yeah, so it took me a long time to get here. It took me a long time to find my way onto this team, or a team that I truly love and care about everyone on it. So, I think that finding your way is just sometimes it's really hard, and you have to take a more introspective look on really what you want out of certain endeavors and what you want out of life. And yeah, it's always going to be a work in progress. And I think that's just something that I'm always going to be proud of, is just my ability to just keep on showing up.
I love that. And it's like perfectly. So I've started asking this question a lot on the podcast, and it has led to very different answers, but they all pretty much, I don't know, 95% of them follow the
Yeah.
same theme, which is a qualitative answer and not a quantitative answer. Almost nobody has said, I want to be an Olympian. I want to be the best in the world. I want to win an Olympic gold. It's very intangible. And it's more about exactly what you said. Like, I'm proud of myself now. I want to continue to be proud of myself and get better and contribute and give back and show others that, you don't have to give up. And I think, and I've reflected on this before, but I'll do it again. That's in stark comparison to, I think, what a lot of amateurs would say when asked this question. And again, if you're listening, please correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm right. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But I think that a lot of amateurs are stuck in the like, and I was very guilty of this too. The like, I want to break 5 or 4 or 3 or BQ or PR or whatever. And that's how worth is measured. And I think for a lot of people, the actual progress and growth doesn't happen until you can disassociate from an outcome like that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I really like about along those lines is, when we have a race coming up and I talked to Ben Rosario, talks to each of us individually before, and he's never like, we know what the standards are, what kind of good rubrics of performance are. But, he's never like, we're going to go into this race and we're going to try to break 15 minutes for 5K. That's not how he operates. He's more qualitative. He's more like, give yourself a chance, put yourself in a position to succeed. Here's like what that looks like and how we're going to get there, and I think that if you tap into those more qualitative aspects, or maybe existential aspects for a lot of people, like the results a lot of times take care of themselves. And then even when they don't, it's like, as long as you put your best foot forward and you were doing everything you could, like you still get things out of that, and you can still carry that with you into future performances.
Definitely. So you said that you had a string of like 4 years worth of injuries and you chose not to give up. If we had this conversation in year 3 of that string, and you didn't know that year 4 would be the last year of that string of injuries, and I asked you, why are you still doing this? What do you think you would have said?
I really just think I would, it's a hard, I would have probably said, like, I can't go out like this. Like, I refuse to, like, I know how much I love the sport and how happy I am when I'm able to do what I love to do. And I also know that I work hard enough, and I do have, whatever you believe about talent. Like I didn't want to end my career not running or just being bitter at the sport, because having so many injuries years in a row is like a lot, and that happens, and it's understandable, where people just end up hating the sport, and I've had I have so many good memories in the sport, despite all of everything. And, I know, and I know how much good it has brought into my life, like friends and family, and just experiences that, I didn't want to be like, and I stopped here because I am mad at running, and, yeah. And I really, it was hard because I kind of had, like, it wasn't 4 years of like not running at all. It was more like I would have a few months of like okay training, and then I would get hurt, so it was more of like this injury cycle where I couldn't get out of it, and I couldn't figure out what kept making me injured. And there was one season in the middle of that 4 years where I did have a pretty good season, and I PR'd in the 800 and the mile. So it was almost like I like kept getting glimpses of like the athlete that I could be, and like the mental toughness that I did have. But so it was like just enough to kind of keep me in it. I don't know, honestly, if it had been like, oh, I haven't run in 2 years, if it would have been the same thing. But I mean, I almost took a D2 coaching position in the middle of it, because I was like, I don't know, like, I'm still going to train, but like, this might be it for me. Like, you don't know. I mean, it's hard to kind of some injuries and cycles. It's just when you can't get out of it, you can't see an ending point, and that's very hard.
How did you get out of it?
I got out of it because I kind of had to take a step back, work with physical therapists and biomechanists like Max Paquette to
I know the guy.
Try to figure out like what was the root cause of my injury, and we figured out that it was mechanical. So I've actually, knock on wood, I've never had a stress fracture. I've been fortunate to not deal much with like eating issues, anemia, things like that. But it's more of just like the load I was putting on my body was not being absorbed very well because of the way that I ran. I run on my toes. And so my lower legs take a beating, and it is a constant, just every day, like I'm doing mobility, or I'm doing, toe, ankle, foot flexibility. Like I need to get massages. It just was a matter of like figuring out my formula to stay healthy and not go over the edge.
I got to pick your brain on that separately, because I've had similar issues. I had the post-tib issues earlier this year, and I had bilateral stress reactions from probably my foot strike, and not fun. Definitely mechanical, and I guess Max knows his stuff. I have a little more dirt on the topic from Camille, who I autocorrect butchered her name when I wrote it down. So Camille, I'm very sorry for calling you anyway.
Yeah.
So she says that you were voted in high school most likely to marry a foreigner, which you in fact did. Max is Canadian. And then you went to he met your family and went on vacation with them within weeks of first meeting. How was that?
Yeah, weird, right? I don't, it was very strange. Like, I typically don't move that quickly. But yeah, I just kind of, it was definitely interesting. Actually, like, I think my parents were more shocked than me for sure. Yeah, but
anyway, she wanted to contribute some fun facts there.
Yeah, she was my roommate when we were. She was my roommate, one of my roommates when we were dating. So
got it. She knows a lot then.
Yeah.
We have some other fun questions from the fans.
Awesome.
So let's dig into these. Let's see here. What are some of your shareable goals for you in 2021? So this is more of on the serious side. The rest are not.
Yeah, I mean, quantitatively, I think, everyone wants to be on that Olympic team. This year, if you are healthy and you're at that level, and I think that's going to be the goal for almost everybody. So I would love to be on that team, whether it's 5K or 10K, remains to be seen. And then, it's kind of hard to say exactly what those tangible goals are, other than, you need to do what you need to do to be on that team. So hit the Olympic standards and, hopefully be in a position to come top 3 at the trials. But I don't really know at this point what 2021 is going to look like. I am keeping an open mind. I trust Ben Rosario. And, we haven't actually talked about what the actual opportunities are in 2021, but I think, because we don't know how many opportunities we will have and how things will go, even though, I'm hopeful about the vaccine that's been announced in the past few days.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those, and when you have the opportunity, you need to make the most of it the best you can,
Definitely.
So that's really my overarching goal, is whenever I get an opportunity to race, just try to get the most out of myself on the day. And I think we were really good about that in 2020. I mean, we did get to race a lot more than I expected. Like St. George, we did a couple time trials in Flagstaff. We had a mile in Sedona at 5,000 feet, and then the Sunset 5K race. And we did a inter squad Santa Barbara 10K. And then this 10K at Sound Running and the Michigan Ekiden. And it's just been wow, so many more.
Yeah, that is a lot.
I thought we would, I know, when I actually think about it, it's a lot more than I anticipated. And, even though this last one, which kind of stinks to have kind of a stinker race, your last race of 2020 after being consistent, it's it sucked to not perform. But the bottom line is I got to perform.
Right.
And right now. And I think that, that mindset, I think, is it's more fun. It's more gratifying. And so that's kind of the mindset I'm taking into 2021 as well.
Yeah, I love that. I had a conversation on the podcast with Aisha Protlier, and fun was the overarching theme.
Yeah.
Where she basically said, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And I've been a professional athlete for X number of years, and I'm still having fun. So
yeah, absolutely.
So switching over to some more fun questions, what is your favorite Baylor memory? And this is from Kate Barrett, and she says, favorite Baylor college, not dog.
Yeah, she knows. I'm staring at my dog lovingly, every second I spend with you. The best. Oh man, that is such a hard question.
Or one good one.
Um, oh man. I mean, any of like the team functions. I remember this one time we had like a big like men's and women's like potato salad fight on a mural field. One day it was, I mean, it was so weird, so dumb. But that was
It
so
sounds awesome.
I mean, one thing it was awesome and disgusting. But one thing I remember, I mean, one thing I miss so much about college running is being on that DMR relay. Oh gosh. Yeah. So probably, I mean,
For the trail runners out there, that's distance medley relay.
Yeah, it's a distance medley relay. So it's a 1200, an 800, 400, and then a mile at the end. And I just always performed so much better when I had like other people relying on me than I did individually, to be honest. Yes, I mean, probably any of those. Like, I just think of all the team trips we took to Drake relays where we did all kinds of things like, DMR, sprint medley, like 4x16, like those were just the best.
Very cool. On to Hot Pockets. Do you have a favorite Hot Pocket joke?
Well, there's like a 6-minute long Jim Gaffigan bit, and that's what it's from. It's not me saying I'm hot. It's like, talking about the delicious, like nutritious microwavable meal. And it's like there's so many, but I just one that I do like is Jim when he's like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone after eating a Hot Pocket say, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I ate that. I mean, there's just like, so there's a plethora of them, but yeah, it is a pun. It is, for any of people that did not get the joke.
It's similar to her last name. So this is tangential to your teammate. Is a Hot Pocket the cousin of a burrito?
Yes, it is.
Are burrito bowls considered burritos? And your answer to this question determines your fate of the team on the team next year.
You know what, Mr. Fowle? I will agree with you that a burrito is better than a burrito bowl. I will give you that, as long as it's double wrapped. That's
okay. Like a taco.
Yeah, but like a soft
like a what?
A soft taco. But
yeah, soft, like very safely wrapped.
But you know what? If we going to supporting your teammates, if you've never tried a Hot Pocket, then you're dead to me. So Scott, get yourself to Safeway, because I guarantee you they don't have them in Sprouts.
Boom. Mic drop. I have 50 more questions, but I think that's a good place to wrap. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat today, and hope to see you out in Flagstaff or at a race at some point soon.
Yes, me too. I know it's so weird because I've listened to your podcasts and I've heard your interviews with my other teammates, and like it's so weird that I haven't actually met you yet. So I hope so too, and I really appreciate you inviting me on here.
Of course. We'll talk soon and see you out there, hopefully.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye. That's it for today's episode. Like many long runs, it's sad when it has to end. I hope you join in next week on For the Long Run. And in the meantime, happy trails. If you've enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it so that others can find it and enjoy it too.